So one of the things that we often don't talk about is the silent pain of healing the thing that never happened. Like healing this thing that could have been, that should have been, that you envisioned, that you wanted to happen so bad, but it never happened. And the reality of healing from that comes from this accepting what's real, what's in front of you, what's possible and what isn't. And I think that that's one of the hardest things that we will ever have to decipher, because this thing that we wanted didn't happen. And now we have to mourn something that we didn't have tangibly. So when we talk about the series of wounds, and we've been, diving into different kind of wounds, I think this is one of those wounds that we don't often make time for. And this is a perfect segue between last episode and this episode. And then we talk about identity and all these other type of wounds and confidence. But I think that we don't heal from certain things that like this, because we don't actually allow ourselves the fullness of what it really could have been and what it was. And we don't allow ourselves the ability in the moment to actually grieve something like this, right? Because for a lot of us, the way we think about this is that we look at this situation and we say, well, it wasn't anything real. Like it never happened. It never came to fruition. So how can I feel bad? How can I heal? How can I grieve from a thing that just didn't exist? And that's a fair thing, right? It's a fair thought. That's a common thought. But the reality is that there was something that happened. And we'll dive into this a little bit later, but your brain still went through this process. Your brain still has to deal with the trauma of what it had to get over. It still has to go through this constant thing of allowing itself to be real, to be present, to be in the now. And one of the hardest things are that these become so difficult to heal from because there's nothing tangible, right? There's nothing that you can say, well, X, Y, and Z was the reason why. You never actually had the fullness of it. So it didn't allow you to be free from this thing. So diving into this reality, it's just so much to unpack there, and just allowing ourselves to know that it's okay to heal and to grow from this particular thing. And let's start with this first point. Validate the grief of the unrealized. Like really validate that reality. Just because it wasn't official doesn't mean it wasn't real to you. Just because this thing never had the fullness of what you thought it could have been, it doesn't mean that it wasn't an authentic thing to your heart, that it wasn't something that you wanted or saw, and it wasn't something that was not real to you. Yes, it might have not been to fruition. It might have not lived the way that you anticipated or thought or wanted, but it was still real. It was still something that you felt. It was still something that you desired. It was still a future that you envisioned. It was still a thing that you saw happening and that you were willing to go above and beyond to make it happen, and it didn't happen. So now being able to grieve this is to understand that, yeah, it's an ambiguous loss, but it's still real. It's still a loss nonetheless. It's still something that you have to mourn and go through and allow yourself to accept the reality that it isn't going to happen. And it does take time. It's not something that tomorrow you wake up and you say, well, you know what, I understand this. I validate my feelings. I grieve it and I let it go. It's not like that. Sometimes it's going to be a lot of repetition of allowing ourselves to be honest with us, to allow us to move away from something that seems good, that seemed like it should have happened, and then realize that, you know what, this thing isn't valid now, and it's okay to feel and to grieve and to go through the process of healing that. Because like any relationship, right, when we have actual relationships, and by the way, again, like everything I say, it's not just romantic relationships, but those again are the most common. So when we look at these things, it's this understanding that this particular thing that I was in is still a relationship. Even if it was just a situationship or something that you've anticipated or thought about, you still sowed yourself an emotion and a feeling of what it could have been. So you are going to hurt the same way that if it was something else, and in fact sometimes even worse, because you didn't have anything to pit it against. You can't say that this person was this way or that way or something happened here. You have to now go off the simple basis of this thing that could have been and wasn't. I honestly feel that is the hardest thing to heal from. The thing that wasn't, the thing that could have been the vision that you gave yourself. And I need you to understand that you need to hold on to this reality that you are good. Like the person that you are is still good. The person that you wanted to be in this is still good. It's not, you don't have to mourn what you desired. You have to mourn what you're dealing with. So for a lot of us, when we struggle with this healing component, when we don't allow this wound to really be healed, we fester in it. And it comes to this point where it dives into so many other relationships or so many other things in our lives. It's not even just relationships, right? It will dive into things that we deal with people, or how we deal with people, or how we respond to other people because of this wound that was never tended to. It's the worst thing to think that because you didn't grieve something that wasn't, that you have allowed it to now create a roadblock in everything else. It's okay to grieve this particular thing. It's okay to see this and validate the fact that yes, it existed. It was real. It was a pain that I've struggled with. It's something that it's real in me. Your brain and your body, they don't know the difference, right? They can't grieve it because in the way it's created and working in you, it's not something that to you it's fake, right? It's not something that to you has no valid feeling or emotion. It's something that's real, something that's happened, that you've gone through. So being able to understand that and to deal with that particular thing is going to be huge. It's being able to know that in your brain, this thing is still true and still valid. Now, one of the biggest things that we fail at this is that for a lot of us, we're grieving potential and not a person. Like, we're grieving what could have been and not who they actually were. We're seeing what we've envisioned and not what they're showing us. And you're mourning the vision that you created and not the reality of who they actually were. Because the truth is that psychologically, our brains can't distinguish between imagined emotions and real ones. They can't distinguish between these two things. So sometimes there are things that we put ourselves through because we've envisioned what a person could be like, but it's not the reality. They've never actually done those things. You've just given yourself so much leverage, so much rope with this that you think this is who they are. I think one of the best ways to heal from this wound is to sit down with this thought and unpack that, right? Is this person really, really who they're showing me they are, or are they really this person that I envisioned them to be? Or am I overcompensating for my desire with their action? Like, am I changing who they are to fit what I want them to fit? Am I changing what they do? Because we do this so often. I think this is one of the hardest pains that we ever struggle with. People will treat us poorly and will try to find excuses for their bad behavior. They'll do terrible things to us or say terrible things to us. And what we'll do is that we'll look for reasons why to justify them so that we can feel justified in it, so that we can feel vindicated about our emotions. Because if they are being this person, it's not because of them, it's because of X, Y, and Z. So you justify how bad they're treating you in effort to keep them around just because you want them around. I need you to realize that sometimes you're grieving the potential of who they could be and not the reality of who they're showing you they are. And I think that pain is worse because at this point, it's not something that they are actually showing you. It's something that you're forcing yourself to believe. This thought pattern, this process of allowing people to continue to be the worst version of them so that we can just keep them in our lives is not good. And healing from that particular wound is going to be tough because we're affirming this. We're fulfilling what they are without knowing it. We're subconsciously allowing them to be this worst version of us to us because we are giving them that power, that authority. The reality is that sometimes we're grieving potential and not the person. So when we talk about this, right, this reality of what's real and what's not, what's tangible and what isn't, being able to sit down and unpack this, being able to sit down and look at this particular thing and say, man, is this really who this person is, or is it just who I'm making them out to be? Are they really treating me properly? The person that desires you and loves you and will give into you and desires to build something with you is a person that will pursue and seek you. Now, I'm not saying, I know that dynamic and dichotomy between the male and the female and the things that we have to do and all these things. And when we talk about this mountain of healing from this particular wound, we need to also understand that no person that desires you will ever not show you interest. Now, I don't mean that they're going to be like over the top because, people have different emotions and different expressions and different things. But a person that desires to be around you will make the effort to keep you around. It should not feel like you have to consistently chase, because a person that wants to be caught does not desire chase, they desire pursuit. And pursuit and chase are totally different. When I pursue something, it's because it is something that we are showing that we are interested in this in particular thing. When I chase something, it's because it's running from me. The thing that you have to chase and force will be the thing that will make you the most tired and most aggravated because you're doing extra for nothing. There's a difference between pursuit and chase. And when we distinguish these two people, these person that we're grieving the potential of who they are and the reality of who they actually are, we need to be able to sit down and unpack, am I being extra in a place that's not validated or loved? Am I chasing instead of pursuing? Am I the butt of the joke? Or am I actually bringing something to this table? Are we working to grow something? We need to make sure that in this healing of this mountain, of this wound, that we don't give this authority to something that's not real. And again, in Spanish, it translates lo casi algo, which is again what we're talking about in this. And there's this potential of something that could have happened. And now I do want to distinguish that real quick, because in that saying, in Spanish, it's a little bit different, because that is more grieving the potential of something good, of something that both people desired, but the timing or the place or the thing wasn't there. If the moment of that possibility didn't actually flourish, it didn't exist. And these are two people that desire these things, and we still have to grieve these things. But the reality of that is that you're not grieving something that is only mental. You're grieving something that had actual potential. And I don't want to invalidate that, right? Because that's a reality. There is the possibility of things that most people wanted it, but the timing or the issues or the world was just not aligning. But even in that, as you sit down and unpack this for you, even in that particular person would still put the conscious effort. They'll still give the time. They'll still do the thing that you need, right? It's not just you. And we get so caught up in trying to make things happen with people that we ignore the fact that it can't just be us. That we can't just be the only ones making everything. So in those casi algos and that almost some things, same concept, but we need to have that reality We need to be able to distinguish fantasy from emotional reality. Like, were you actually in love with them or with the idea that they represented? Were you in love with who they were showing you, what they were doing, the actions, the words, or were you in love with what they look like or what you thought they could be, or their money or their potential, or the things that you've envisioned in your mind and not who they actually were to you? And I think that for many of us, the unfulfilled relationships we live in come from this idolized self space, like this thing where we've created an idol of this particular person and we made them into something that they actually aren't, like nothing that they're showing us that they really are. We're making them into what we can see them. And this happens so much, and I think this is one of the most painful things to go through, and I promise you everyone has gone through it at some stage in their life. They will, or they have, or they're going to. It's where we create a person that does not exist. We make that person to be better out than what they actually are. So we put them on a pedestal. We make them into the symbol of who we want them to be because they portray certain characteristics of the things that we want, but they are not that person. And what happens when you do that is that you give so much authority to them that they now control everything that you do, feel, and act. Like every part of your heart is now in their hands because you've given them that much authority. It's unfortunate because it's so easy to do in our pursuit to be loved. Like in our hope and our desire to find the person, to see this person, we make them something that they aren't. And when we date potential, we look for potential, we can't actually do something successful with that, right? Because you can't date potential, you have to date reality. You can't date what people are showing you that they can be, or what you anticipate them to be, rather. Because yes, if they're making efforts and strides, that's different. But if you create them into something that they're absolutely not, and they show you that they're actively not, you have now put them in a pedestal, so much so that they are the symbol of everything that you've wanted. And you can't heal from that because they still remain on that pedestal. So in your mind, this person that you've elevated is the person that you need to pursue. And we can't heal from a person that we've made into a God. We can't heal from a person that we've put so much higher than anything else. The truth is that for a lot of us, we don't distinguish between our emotions and our reality. We don't question it because it's easier to just remain in that. And to go back and to repeat those things, to stay in those cycles, it's just so much easier. Healing starts when you reclaim that, when you take that part of you that's not aligning with that truth, and you stop giving it authority. You stop looking for them to be the person that you've envisioned them to be, and accept who they actually are. I think we break our own hearts so much because of that, because we think that this person that we've invented is who they're going to be, and we are blind. We put on blinders to everything that they say, do, and act, all this. We ignore the super red flags because it's easier to just stay in what I was thinking, right? Because it's just easier to make myself the villain in this story. It's just easier to take on, to me, what they are. And this breaks my heart because I see it so much. I see in the conversations that I've had with people over the years, I see this so often. I feel like we've all gone through something similar to this, but we make ourselves the villain in the story in efforts to make them the hero. We downplay what we bring, what we offer, who we are, how good we are, because we think that they are that good because we put them on a pedestal so high that they could do no harm, they could do no wrong. And the reality is that yes, they might be amazing, great people, but they're not great to you. They're not good for you. They're not giving you the things that you need. So now you're causing yourself heartbreak trying to convince them to be who they can be. You will continue to stay in this thing. You will never heal from this thing if you can't authentically sit down and identify the reality of who they are. Like, it's not just who you make them to be, but who are they actually? What are they actually doing to this table, to this mix? Is it just you thinking and begging, or is it the reality of they're making some conscious effort? We'll continue to chase the people that we put on pedestals because we think that we don't deserve them. And we think that if we have some type of access to them, that's enough. And it's not. You don't deserve just enough. You don't deserve just simple access. You deserve fullness. You deserve to be loved completely and tangibly. And it's not just something where you put yourself in a position to be stepped over. We will continue to be stepping stools for people that don't see us as equals. They don't see us as how we see them. And being able to sit down and unpack this and knowing that it's just the reality of this, we'll be able to walk away. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that you're going to just wake up one day and analyze and sit through this and be able to be real about it. But it is something that you will have to consistently choose. You, every day, choose to love and choose you. So one big takeaway here, that yes, it's a lot of mental decisions and a lot of emotions, but there's also a chemical component to this. Like, notice chemical loop of hope and disappointment. This happens a lot in relationships where people will do things where they'll give you just enough. It's called breadcrumbing. They'll give you just enough to keep you around, but not enough to keep you fulfilled or full. They'll give you enough to seem like it's possible and it's convenient, but not enough to make it seem like they're actually interested and invested. And I need you to take that for what it is, at its core value, because if they're giving you just enough, this is causing this chemical response in you that you think, oh, this is the time, this is the chance, this is the opportunity, it's finally going to happen. So what you do is that you invest more while they invest less, and now you are over invested into something. And again, sunken cost fallacy, you've given so much time to this that you think that you have to make it happen, and you don't. It's intermittent reinforcement, and it's addictive. This happens even in love. Like, even in this, when we get these little glimpses, little portions of it, these breadcrumbs, we think that it's just enough to keep us going. And honestly, it's like any drug addiction. So what happens to your body is that you're releasing hormones like dopamine and serotonin, and all these things are being released, and you feel this little hit of this little high. So every time that you get this connection with them, you feel a little bit happier, a little more joyful. So what you think, what your body thinks chemically, it thinks that this person is inducing this. So what happens chemically is that you begin to now create this attachment to them, whether consciously or subconsciously, because your body's releasing these type of hormones. But that's not them. It's just the thought of the thing that you've created that creates, again, this pedestal where we come back to this place. This breadcrumbing is enough to keep you chemically attached, but not actually committed. It's enough to make them seem like what you think they are, but it's not enough for you to actually be validated or loved in it. And I think that for a lot of people, we'll continue to struggle in that lie until we create this detachment from them that doesn't allow them to continue to have that power over you. And this is the hard part, right? Because you have to consciously decide to not go back even when it hurts. There is a physical hurt that happens. Even in heartbreak, honestly, there's signs that shows us that there are literal parts of your heart, little strings in your heart that break. Right? When you feel overly emotionally painful, or when there's like deaths in the family, or like these really deep, intense emotions, there are actual parts of your heart that break. And it's equated to, again, scientifically, even to physical emotion, like pain. Like your emotions bring you physical pain. But the reality is that you won't be able to rewire this. You won't be able to change this if you keep going back to it. There has to be, this is why so many people say stuff like, don't talk to them, right? Like that complete detachment, like 30 days or whatever. It's because this actually works because of that, because you create this distance. Now, I don't want to dismiss certain situations, because we all go through things like having kids and stuff like that, and there's situations where you have to be able to communicate and speak and be in contact with them, because there's so many other factors to this. But at this point, it's knowing what's on the table and what isn't, is knowing, okay, this is where we can speak and do and act, and this is where we can't. These are the boundaries and barriers that we have to keep, because if not, we will never heal from this. Being able to declare those things, because the reality is that that's part of you that's going to stay. That it's that part of you that loved them. It was just showing you what you're capable of feeling. Like knowing that you can go through this and feel those things with those people, it's just showing you that this is a reality and it's possible. And yeah, maybe it's not the best there. Maybe that wasn't where you needed it. But being able to stay in that, being able to grow from that, it's going to be the best thing you ever do. We'll give this reality. We'll see this possibility and know that we're capable of it. But that doesn't mean that that's the place that you have to give it. Like, just knowing that you can do this doesn't mean that you stay in this. Just because it's natural to you doesn't mean that this is the place that owns everything for you. Until we cut that off, until we sever those things, we'll continue to stay in these loops that are not just emotional, but they're also physical and spiritual. There are connections that we make with people that we can't break, because we've created these bonds with them that it's just pulling us back into this. And you ever wonder why you feel so negative around these people, why these people are so negative and you feel that way with them? It's because of that, because we've created these bonds that are deeper than anything else. And knowing that we have to separate these things, the only way you'll ever do it is by creating that actual space. One of the greatest phrases I've ever heard and will ever hear is, you weren't rejected, you were redirected. And I think knowing this and owning this is the reality. The things that we're not meant to serve and grow with us. And again, again, divine assignment, yes, but maybe not divinely assigned, maybe just in general. Sometimes the things that we have desired to have in our lives are the things that were going to cost us the most pain, or the things that are going to hurt us the most, are going to cause this struggle in us that wasn't worth it. And being able to know that sometimes rejection is the greatest gift you will ever receive, it will change how you look at the situation, because now I know that, yes, maybe I wanted this thing, but this thing was going to cause problems that I was not ready for. It's not rejection, it's redirection. There's this disinterest isn't a measure of value, it's a reflection of their capacity. Like knowing that this person doesn't see what you offer and what you have. If they had access to you, they wouldn't know what to do with you. Their rejection is a redirection towards the things that you should be in. You would have wasted time in a place that could not fully value you, thinking that that's what you deserve because you have put them in a place that's so high that they didn't deserve to be there. And then now what you would have done is that your whole life would have been surrounded and vindicated by their approval, and you would have hated yourself for it. You would have hated yourself to be in a place that just doesn't value and love you fully for you, not for what you do, for what you bring, for how you look, for how much money you have, but just for the person that you are. These people could not service that. They could not serve that love that you have because it wasn't for them to do so. And the sooner we get to understanding this, the sooner we accept this reality that sometimes the places that we've been in, it's not worth us. It's not worth our time. The sooner we accept that, the sooner we're allowing ourselves to heal and grow and know that yes, it could have been a season or a time or a lesson in my life, but it wasn't the thing that drove the boat. It wasn't the catalyst for everything else. Being able to actually have that and identify that, it's knowing that your worth isn't defined by their attention. And maybe they couldn't see you. Either way, it's about you. It's not about you not being enough. It's not about them not being ready. It's about the reality that they weren't able to serve who you were. They did not have the capacity to love fully and intentionally how you needed it. That's not rejection. Again, that's redirection towards someone who actually will. The years you would have invested in a place knowing that you thought that it was the greatest thing ever, it would have been the most painful thing you've ever done. And our last point here, just dive into this reality. This is wound, this mountain of healing. It's one of the more intricate things. And again, I say this often in all these episodes. And if you hadn't heard it before, if this is the first one you're listening to, I of course, my background is a spiritual one. I come from a faith. I love Jesus. Right? I'm a Christian. I follow my faith. I'm Catholic. I love my faith. I have all these beautiful things. And I never want anyone to ever feel like they are not welcomed or loved, or how these particular topics are not for them. But I honestly feel like there is value in this, even despite your belief. Like whatever you believe or don't believe, or what you align with or don't align with, or whatever, there is philosophy to all of this. And that's what I love about my faith, particularly because it's not just a spiritual thing, it's a philosophical thing. There is so much intricacy in it. And I think that everyone can get something out of this. And I'm sure that people have different spiritualities and all these things, and this will still resonate with you. This last point, it's a precursor to it because it will resonate with you, but it's to separate a soul connection from a soul assignment. Just because you felt something deep doesn't mean that they were meant to stay. And there's this distinguishment between a soul resonance and a soul permanence. This person that might have related to something that you felt was good and needed in you, and in that moment was good because it was a presence, but it's not something that was meant to be attached for the long term. It's not something or someone that was meant to be there for a greater period. And the reality is sometimes we think that the person that we've envisioned, the person that we've made them out to be, is the person that we need, but it's not. It's not the person that's going to have the greater goal for you, right? And again, from a faith perspective, the greater goal is heaven, right? The desire for that fullness of what it is. But you can't serve your mission here, where you are now, in the life you're living, in the world you're in, without a person that is not mission driven with you. Like the goal should always be this person that's working and yearning to be not just the best version of them for them, but the best version of them for you. And if the person that you can't heal from is a person that you've poured into so much, because again, we have to sit with that reality. Are they for me, or have I made them for me? Like, are they really the potential that I say they have? Or is it something that I've created, right? Or is it something that they actually are? And again, it goes even further, because again, let's assume they are. There are these great things that they could serve with you and could have helped you. Now, is this a person that desired that in me, or is this a person that didn't desire that in me? And again, that's an easy answer, because you wouldn't be healing from a wound of hurt, or a detachment, or heartbreak, or anything of that nature, or the relationship that never happened. You wouldn't be healing from that wound if that person actually was, because if he was, you wouldn't be here. They would have validated the thing that you were feeling. They would have given you the emotion you deserved, the love and attention, so you wouldn't be dealing with this thing. So it's kind of already redundant question, but just the reality to help us see and analyze this, that some people don't deserve the position that we've given them because they don't serve or deserve the places that we're going to. They are not mission driven with us. They're convenient for the place that we might have thought they were, but they're not the fullness of what they are. Your real life is worth building more than the imagined one was worth building. Like the reality of where you're going is way more important than what you thought you needed. It's the truth of where you are now. And our actual last point here, because it was 6, not 5, is letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. Yes, it's over, it happened, but it doesn't mean it didn't have value. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a lesson, there wasn't a person, there wasn't something good that came out of this. It doesn't mean that this thing didn't exist. It's the truth behind it, but you can honor the feeling and still move forward. You can honor the emotion, the capacity, the thing that you went through. You can honor the person. You can say that they had all these great values and all these great things, but you can still move on with your life. And it might seem insane right now. It might seem deep and painful depending where you are in this walk. But it's okay to honor what you felt and what you went through and not stay there. Know that this is the thing that became a learning block, a learning curve for you, a stepping stone forward. You don't have to erase the memories of the moment or not go back to it. I mean, yes, in the beginning stages, of course, don't dwell in it. Don't go through limerence where you sit and overplay the emotions of the memory, where you over obsess of what you could have done or said differently, because the reality is that there isn't anything. Like, there is no change as to what you could have said or done that would have made anything better, because the full you, the true you, is a person that just deserves to be free, doesn't have to act perfectly. You don't have to know every next step. You don't have to have all the chess pieces put out perfectly. It's okay to be messy, because the person that loves you fully loves you even in your mess. They're not living the perfection and polished you. It's the you that you authentically are. Yes, I'm not saying go be a hot mess every single day, but know that there's nothing you could have done differently to make them love you more. If they didn't love you where you were, then where you're going is not a place that they deserve to be in. It's okay to honor those things, to know that you went through those emotions, the things that you felt, that you've grown through, and being able to say this thing was real and it mattered and it had its time and its purpose, but its time and its purpose is gone. It's not in the stage you're in now. And this is the hardest point of this, and this is a great way to end this episode, or our last point to this. You don't need a final conversation to be complete. Like, you don't need closure. Closure is a lie. Closure is just an internal hope that they will say, I was wrong, that they will admit to their flaws. You don't need them to do that, because, again, this is giving them authority to make you feel as if you're valid or invalid. It doesn't matter what they say or what they agree with or what they feel. What matters is that you understand who you are and what you deserve. Their validation, their closure means nothing. What you do and what you say means everything. How you feel is the ultimate price of this. So dealing with this reality, the relationships that never happened, healing the wound of what could have been, that mountain that we're in of not being able to step forward or step away, because we've created, again, this image in our brain that we can't separate. It's not something that's going to be super easy, that tomorrow you'll wake up and all these problems will be gone, or this weekend or whatever it is. It's not going to just change overnight. It is going to be a consistent decision to move away. It's going to be a consistent decision to step away from this lie that you're not worthy or that you're not loved, or that you're not validated because a person that couldn't do that fully for you didn't do it for you. You have complete autonomy over who has any power or authority. You have complete freedom to choose who belongs and who doesn't. And as we unpack these wounds, right, this series of wounds, this really quick series within a series, because, again, this is stemming from conversations that I've had with people, and I feel like it's awesome that we're working through this together, but it means nothing if we don't identify these wounds before we do anything else. And we're going to talk about, like, self-confidence and building actual confidence and being able to speak and to move into rooms that you belong to because you are fully who you're meant to be, all those wonderful and purposeful things. But we can't step into those when we don't heal the things that we have before, because if we don't heal our wounds from before, we'll walk into rooms with those same wounds, and we will be triggered by things that are similar to it. Now, I don't mean don't move forward, right? Because some wounds are going to take time, and these are things that you're going to have to heal along on the road. But there are certain things that we have to first identify, because there are certain wounds we're living with that we don't even know are there. So in this series within a series that we talk about these mountains rather, that are wounds, and how we identify and how we grow with them, this is one of the most common ones. And being able to identify that is going to help us identify everything else. So thank you for listening to this episode. And I really hope if you listen this far, I really hope you're sharing this with somebody, because I feel like there's so much fruit in these things where we help other people just heal, and just even if they're not vocal about the things they're going through, just another thought process helps. So thank you for listening to this episode, and I look forward to seeing you or hearing you or speaking with you. Feel free to send me messages on mademoremotivated.com. I'm creating a thing where people can send these kind of conversations. Again, these all conversations stem from different things that people have asked me through, like, social media platforms and stuff like that, and things that I can or can't respond because there's so many sometimes. but I try to like blend different things just because I know there's something fruitful. So we'll check you out, or I'll see you or hear you, or you'll see me or you'll hear me on the next one. Take care.